Lando Norris secures victory in thrilling Hungarian F1 GP. Imagine a race so intense that one wrong move could cost you everything. That's exactly what Lando Norris faced this weekend in the Hungarian Grand Prix. But here's where it gets controversial. Norris didn't just win. He did it with a risky one-stop strategy that had the entire paddock holding its breath. Norris, the British Formula One star, managed to hold off his McLaren teammate, Oscar Piastri of Australia, in a nail-biting finish at the Hungaroring. Norris's clever use of a single set of hard tires for 39 of the 70 laps was a gamble that paid off. Piastri, who had to pit twice, closed a 12-second gap to just 0.6 seconds in the final laps, making for a heart-stopping chase to the finish line. "I'm dead. I'm dead. It was tough," Norris gasped after the race. Starting in third place, Norris dropped to fifth after being squeezed at the start. "We weren't really planning on the one stop. But after the first lap, it was kind of our only option to get back into things. I didn't think it would get us the win. I thought it would get us maybe into second." This win was Norris's fifth of the season and his third in the past 4 races, compared to Piastri's 6 wins. McLaren celebrated their 7th 1-2 finish in 14 races. Meanwhile, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, who started on pole position, had to settle for 4th after a 2-stop strategy and a 5-second penalty for erratic driving. As Norris and Piastri battled it out, George Russell took a distant 3rd for Mercedes, his 5th podium of the season. But what do you think? Did Norris's risky strategy pay off, or was it just a fluke? Share your thoughts in the comments below. With Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, starting in 12th place for Ferrari and finishing there, the Hungarian Grand Prix was a day of surprises and nail-biting action. F1 2025 Hungarian Grand Prix. Winners, losers, and surprising strategies. The 2025 Hungarian Grand Prix laid bare a series of clear winners and losers as Formula One finally heads into a much-needed summer break after an exhausting sequence of 14 consecutive races. But here's where it gets intriguing. While some drivers and teams will undoubtedly find the break a relief, others might need it more urgently due to the unexpected challenges they faced over the weekend in Budapest. Winner, Lando Norris. Lando Norris, starting from a favorable position on the grid, initially looked set to overtake teammate Oscar Piastri at the race start. However, instead of a seamless move, Norris got trapped in traffic and was overtaken by George Russell and Fernando Alonso, 2 drivers who then altered the race dynamics significantly. Ironically, that poor start actually set Norris up for an unexpected victory, his 9th in Formula One, by forcing him to stretch his first stint longer and try a bold, one-stop strategy that many questioned at the time. McLaren, reflecting on that weekend, admitted they themselves weren't confident Norris could pull off that strategy when they called it. Meanwhile, after Piastri's unsuccessful attempt to undercut pole-sitter Charles Leclerc, the Australian found himself more concerned about Norris's tactics on the radio, rather than focusing on Ferrari's pace, which turned out to be a prescient worry. The 2 McLarens engaged in a fierce battle toward the end, with Piastri closing in rapidly on fresher tires, but ultimately unable to pass Norris. This was a classic case where Piastri executed everything correctly, yet still ended up losing. As they head into the summer break, Norris sits just 9 points behind Piastri in the championship, keeping his hopes alive. What was captivating about this race was seeing the 2 dominant cars at the front actually racing to win, rather than just playing it safe to finish ahead of one another. McLaren's 200th Grand Prix win wasn't achieved through caution, but through aggressive and exciting racing. Loser? Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc shone bright during qualifying, delivering a superb lap that earned him an unexpected pole position. His pace in the race was promising too, until his speed plummeted after his second pit stop when he switched to hard tires. Frustrations had already mounted earlier in the race due to certain decisions about energy deployment made by his engineers, as explained by Ferrari's team principal, Fred Vasseur. With his Ferrari suddenly slower and less stable, Leclerc couldn't keep George Russell behind him. The tension escalated with Leclerc defending aggressively under braking twice, forcing Russell into sharp evasive maneuvers to avoid collision. Considering the vast gap behind them, The 5-second penalty Leclerc received for his erratic driving felt incredibly lenient. Some might argue he got off too lightly. Winner, George Russell. George Russell and Mercedes enjoyed a return to form in Hungary after reverting their car back to a pre-Imola setup and discarding a problematic rear suspension upgrade. This rollback improved their car's stability and speed, proving crucial in the windy, cooler conditions of the Hungaroring. Russell was so quick in qualifying, he nearly snatched pole until a tricky final corner thwarted his attempt. The cooler weather was a blessing in disguise for Mercedes, as it helped mitigate their widely noted struggles in hot conditions. During the race, Russell capitalized by overtaking Norris off the line and achieving the top non-McLaren finish, no small feat in this competitive season. He looked ready to vanish immediately into holiday mode after the race, and with a new contract with Mercedes reportedly imminent, his hard work truly paid off. Loser, Lewis Hamilton. Speaking of Mercedes, their other driver, Lewis Hamilton, seemed visibly worn down after a challenging start to his season with Ferrari, a stint that was eagerly anticipated by fans and critics alike. Just as Hamilton began to close in on Leclerc and appeared to overcome his adaptation phase, 2 disappointing qualifying sessions interrupted his momentum. Unlike his impressive comeback drive in Spa, Budapest's tight and twisty track offered no room for a similar recovery, leaving Hamilton visibly frustrated. His rare, quiet but pointed comments to the media, suggesting Ferrari consider a different driver, were telling of his state of mind after an especially tough weekend. Fortunately, the summer break arrives at an opportune moment for Hamilton to regroup. Despite his gloomy mood and seemingly poor results, a closer look shows his performance wasn't as dire as it felt, with setbacks like a strict track limits penalty in Spa and a narrow exit from Q2 in Budapest playing significant roles. Still, it's far from the dream debut at Ferrari the Tifosi had hoped for. Winners, Gabriel Bortoleto and Sauber. Amid some gloomier performances, the rookie Gabriel Bortoleto brought a breath of fresh air, delivering yet another stellar showing by qualifying 7th and finishing 6th, the best result of his young F1 career so far. He described the surreal feeling of racing alongside multiple world champions like Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen during the opening stint, yet he appeared comfortable and confident throughout. This success was in part thanks to Sauber's recent upgrade package, paying off for the team after a difficult start to the season. With teammate Nico Hülkenberg struggling after qualifying, Bortoleto's solid race result helped maintain Sauber's bid to stay competitive in the Constructors' Championship, though the team was overshadowed slightly by Aston Martin's strong points haul. Losers, Red Bull. In contrast, Red Bull experienced one of its toughest race weekends in recent memory, arguably performing even worse than at Monza 2024. It was surprising to see Max Verstappen, usually a frontrunner, struggle just to make it into Q3. The RB21's handling balance, an ongoing challenge throughout the season, has improved lately. However, Budapest revealed a glaring issue on low to medium speed circuits, where the car failed to generate sufficient grip and thus lost significant lap time. Both Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda slid excessively during the race, making a one-stop strategy impossible. Team principal Laurent Mekies and advisor Helmut Marko remain optimistic, calling Budapest a one-off setback. Yet, for Dutch fans clutching their Zandvoort tickets, the question remains, can Red Bull bounce back when it truly counts? Winners, Aston Martin. Aston Martin's dramatic leap in performance, from being almost invisible at Spa to securing 16 valuable points in Hungary, was startling. This surge allowed them to climb to 6th in the constructors' standings. At first glance, this suggests their car handles certain track types much better than others, particularly favoring circuits that are less about straight-line speed and more about mechanical grip and load, qualities the Hungaroring demands. Interestingly, both Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll admitted they were unsure why their pace surged so much, with Alonso aptly summarizing, "The good thing is that we were fast. The concerning thing is that we don't know why." Losers, Williams and Alpine Williams. Hungarian GP 2025, Lando Norris's critical win, Hamilton's struggles. F1 race analysis. Hungarian Grand Prix. Martin Brundle discusses Lewis Hamilton's difficult challenges and Lando Norris's vital triumph. The Hungarian Grand Prix was a captivating yet at times perplexing event held in Budapest, where the race initially required viewers to exercise patience, but ultimately the experience proved rewarding. During the practice sessions and the early phases of qualifying, it seemed that McLaren was poised to dominate both in terms of single-lap speed and race performance. However, as the final Q3 top 10 shootout began, a sudden light rain altered the conditions. The wind shifted and the temperature of the track dropped, causing McLaren's Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris to lose approximately half a second compared to their best times in Q2. This unexpected turn of events allowed Charles Leclerc in his Ferrari to snatch pole position in a remarkable display, with McLaren lining up closely behind him. This positioning also gave Piastri an edge in the championship race against Norris. Notably, this was the tightest top 10 grid in the 75-year history of Formula One, with just over half a second separating the drivers. Hungarian GP race result. https www.skysports.com/F1/Grand Prix/results. F1 Championship standings, https www.skysports.com/www.skysports.com/F1/news/12433/F1 2025/full race schedule, preseason testing dates, sprint venues, driver lineups, live Sky Sports coverage. F1 Championship standings, https www.skysports.com/F1. Got Sky? Watch F1 races live on your phone. https://www.skysports.com/F1. Watch stream Formula live on your phone with the Sky Sports app, plus onboards highlights and race control. Get Sky Sports. https://TV Sports, DCMP, ILC Sky Sports NC article link, or stream with no contract on now, https://sports announce, period. George Russell secured an impressive fourth place, believing that he had the potential to achieve pole in his Mercedes. The car had reverted to an earlier rear suspension design, which appeared to enhance its competitiveness on the challenging circuit filled with tight corners. Aston Martin's surprise performance. Before diving deeper into the battle for victory, it's worth noting the unexpected performance of the Aston Martins, driven by Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. Throughout the weekend, they demonstrated surprising pace and stability, qualifying 5th and 6th, and finishing the race in 5th and 7th positions. Alonso executed a particularly astute race strategy, managing to hold up a group of cars behind him to conserve his tires, before creating a gap to make his first and only pit stop on lap 39 of the 70-lap race. Gabriel Bortoleto, who has been increasingly impressive, drove his Sauber to a 6th-place finish, earning the title of Driver of the Day from fans. It seems he has absorbed valuable lessons from his co-manager Alonso, and he is certainly one to keep an eye on in the future. Hamilton's struggles, a painful sight. Now I must address a challenging topic: Lewis Hamilton's performance, which was undoubtedly one of the most difficult weekends of his illustrious career, both inside and outside the car. He faced significant challenges in qualifying, ultimately starting from 12th position while his teammate Leclerc took pole. In post-qualifying interviews, Hamilton described himself as useless and even suggested that the team should consider replacing him. Such comments, while perhaps a reflection of his frustration, were perhaps better left unsaid. It's evident that Hamilton is grappling with personal challenges, and during the race, he finished in the same 12th position, showing little sign of improvement. After the race, he remained in his car for what felt like an eternity, appearing dejected in interviews. He also chose not to attend a steward's inquiry regarding a controversial move made by Max Verstappen during the race, where Hamilton opted to drive off the track to avoid a collision. He did not wish to contest the incident, while Verstappen attended the meeting and provided a rational explanation, ultimately avoiding a penalty. A much-needed break for Hamilton. The upcoming summer break could not come at a better time for Hamilton, offering him a chance to reset, It's disheartening to witness such a talented champion facing so many difficulties. We can only hope that he will navigate through this challenging period and return to form, given his vast experience and skill. However, if this trend continues, it's hard to envision him enduring 2 more seasons at Ferrari or any other team under similar circumstances. In contrast, Leclerc in the other Ferrari was also dissatisfied, but for entirely different reasons. He started strongly from pole position and had impressive pace in the early laps, even pulling away from Piastri. However, as the race progressed, his speed diminished, leading to frustrated radio communications, where he expressed a desire to have managed anticipated car issues differently. Understanding Ferrari's challenges. This situation likely stems from the fact that the Ferrari performs optimally when it is closer to the ground, particularly at the rear. We often see it bottoming out heavily, which can wear down the plank underneath the car and potentially render it illegal, as was the case in China earlier this year. To mitigate this wear, drivers sometimes lift off the throttle in high-speed corners when the car is under significant aerodynamic load. During the pit stops in Budapest, the team raised the tire pressures, which elevated the car but compromised grip, and they also adjusted the front wing angle downwards. This negatively impacted Leclerc's pace, and he ultimately finished a frustrated 42 seconds behind the race winner, which included a 5-second penalty for an unreasonable collision with Russell at turn 1, while being overtaken for the final podium position. He started in 8th place and finished 9th, suffering the embarrassment of being outperformed by his earlier season teammate Liam Lawson, who drove the sister Racing Bull's car to a commendable 8th place. It was a tough day for Red Bull. Norris' critical victory. This left McLaren to battle for the top 2 positions, aiming for the team's 200th Formula One victory and their 4th consecutive 1-2 finish. On this occasion, it was Norris who emerged victorious, although this outcome seemed unlikely at the end of the first lap, when he had dropped to 5th place behind Russell and Alonso. Norris had a decent... Ironically, this cautious approach ultimately secured him the win, as McLaren had to strategize effectively to get Piastri past Leclerc, opting for a 2-stop strategy with pit stops on laps 18 and 45, including a clever dummy stop to force Ferrari into an early pit. Now back in 4th place with little to lose, McLaren proposed that Norris switch to hard compound tires, converting to a 1-stop strategy to drive to the finish. He agreed, and they extended his stint to lap 31, pitting 13 laps later than Piastri, who was now his only championship rival. Norris took the lead when Piastri made his 2nd pit stop, and then executed a remarkable 39-lap stint, maintaining impressive pace while managing to preserve his tires. It became evident that Piastri would catch him in the closing laps, as they were on the same tire compound, but Piastri had fresher tires. As anticipated, with 3 laps remaining, Piastri attempted to overtake Norris at turn 1, initially as a practice for his braking point. A lap later, he made a genuine attempt, but Norris was already turning in, forcing the young Australian to lock up and narrowly avoid a collision. That 200th team victory almost had to wait, but all ended well, granting Norris the much-needed breather and a well-deserved victory. This was a pivotal moment. As had Piastri passed him, it would have resulted in a 14-point swing in the championship. Instead, only 9 points now separate them, with the remainder of the season poised for an exciting battle after the break. Formula One will return following the summer break with the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort from August 29 to 31st. Broadcast live on Sky Sports F1. Stream Sky Sports with Now. No contract. Cancel anytime. https://www.nowtv.com/watch Sky Sports Online. DCMP, ILC Sky Sports NC article link.